Do you feel like promotions keep evading you despite you're doing everything right as per the book? And now months are turning into years. Frustration is taking root. You feel stuck in your current role. Before giving up, you may want to know what you are or aren't doing and if there are other people or other factors at play. So in this video, I'm going to share with you mind games that could be withholding promotion opportunities from you and how to fix them once and for all for your next career move. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Nancy and this is where I discuss topics on matters leadership, professional growth, and career advancement. So if this is the kind of content that resonates with you, kindly consider subscribing and pressing the bell, and you will be notified every single week when I release a new video. It can be frustrating to find yourself involuntarily in the same position year in, year out, despite your hard work and qualifications. You know, the concept of promotion in itself at work can be used as a manipulation tactic. And reason being, as humans, we love to be recognized. We love to be appreciated. We have that intrinsic need to feel important. So you find that mind games are an open secret within the organizational culture for most companies. No one talks about it, but specific people use it. So hopefully by the end of this video, you will be able to discern if you have subconsciously been a victim, what made you vulnerable, and how you can rise above it to the next level of your career. By the time you're applying for a promotion, you are subtly passing a message that you have understood your role well enough and you are ready to move on to a supervisory role. So depending on how the upper management views your track record and overall work ethic, your request may be honored or your desire for career growth may be exploited as a way of controlling or manipulating you. Your leaders, your bosses, they may even justify themselves as wanting to reduce turnover rates in key critical positions like the one you occupy, or they just need to ensure high productivity in every department. So what happens when these needs do not go hand in hand with fair compensation and the genuine growth that you desire and deserve? Have your managers been making vague promises about future promotions, but in your heart of hearts, you can tell that they have no intention of following through? They're praising you for working hard, but they are omitting the specifics such that you are not sure, you're left unsure of what you're doing right or otherwise. Something to the tune of, you're such a good worker. We are so happy to have you in this organization. And we have a few openings coming up soon in Department X or Department Y. And if you continue like this, you just might be up for consideration. So you find yourself constantly striving, doing extra work, crossing your fingers, hoping that you will be rewarded. Think of the moments when you exceed expectations in certain given tasks. Everybody can see that were it not for you being in that department, there was going to be serious trouble ahead. Everyone is patting you on the back. Everybody is clapping for you. But as far as your boss is concerned, you're just doing your job. So if your manager does not give you constructive criticism, improvement is going to be an uphill battle, which means that you will be trying so hard without a clear path to navigate. Or every time you feel like you've met the requirements for promotion, the criteria changes, the target evolves such that you're always falling short of the qualifications. Before, maybe in the past, you needed to have done at least 5 years, just an example. But when you get there, you now need to have 5 years plus an extra certification in X. So you find yourself in a cycle of perpetual effort with no payoff. Have you ever felt that strong need to take on more responsibilities? You believe that sacrificing your personal time is going to lead to a promotion. So you come in earlier than usual. You leave the office later than everybody else. And much as your bosses can see your commitment, they still struggle if you push back on any of their demands and subconsciously threaten you with loss of promotion opportunities. And then you start getting these subtle hints like you need to prove yourself more. The position that you're eyeing is not ready for this version of you. Here is a person who's in a position to give you the metrics for you to get to that version that they need. These are comments that can eat into your confidence, make you question whether you are good enough for that promotion or not. You've been delivering results, sometimes even exceeding expectations up until now. So the above statement becomes a manipulation tactic the moment you find yourself seeking validation. You're trying to remain compliant. You're second guessing yourself. If you feel like a carrot is being dangled at you, such that you have to become someone else, sometimes even against your personal ethics, take a step back. This is a good time to invite your sixth sense to the table for a cup of coffee. You do not want to find yourself constantly chasing an unattainable goal. Have you ever felt like your manager is giving you mixed signals about your capabilities? On one end, you are good enough to be promoted, but the tasks that you are given do not add up with the qualifications that you have. You need a challenge. You need something that is going to make you grow, high impact projects, but instead you're stuck. You find yourself stuck with your daily routine, which by now you can even do with your eyes closed. So this is the kind of inconsistency that creates confusion about your real standing in the organization, stopping you from being assertive in asking to be considered for a promotion. And then there's also that case of deliberate exclusion. Have you been deliberately excluded from key career advancing opportunities since you started showing interest in being promoted? What this does is it's going to prevent you from gaining visibility, being in front of key decision makers or people who may notice or be interested in your potential. Is your sense of ambition becoming a problem for your higher ups? These are questions you want to ask yourself, because there's danger in managers playing favorites, because on one hand, you will not have an outlet to position yourself for consideration, and the select few who are invited will have more exposure, giving them an upper hand despite the fact that you have similar qualifications. And we all have that need to feel valued, to feel respected by our peers, by our colleagues, by our superiors, by our subordinates. And then there's also the case of emotional manipulation, where your immediate boss highlights all the sacrifices that he or she has had to make to get you to where you are professionally. And now you're considering just moving on just like that. It's more like you owe them more than gratitude for holding your hand. Guilt tripping can make you feel like wanting more growth for yourself is actually selfish or ungrateful on your part. And I'm a strong believer that when we stop growing, we are going to start stagnating. And this is where frustration takes root. So you just want to ask yourself, how deep-rooted are office politics within your organization? These are moments when you want to separate yourself from your emotions totally and ask yourself, what would be the underlying reasons for withholding a promotion from you? Would it be a case of your manager's insecurity? Your boss or someone in upper management could be feeling a bit insecure about your competence and the rate at which you are growing within the organization. There's that genuine fear that you could potentially outshine them and become a threat to their job security. So deliberately keeping you at a lower position serves as a self-preservation code to them. The lesser the visibility you gain, the lesser the power you'll have to challenge their status within the organization. Or it could also be a retention strategy. Sometimes the motive is purely economical. Your bosses could be withholding promotions from you to keep you a good worker at a lower maintenance cost. So if promoting you is going to mean losing a highly skilled team member to a more demanding role or moving you to a significantly higher tax bracket, a lot of consideration might come into play before they make that concrete decision. The reason being, the organizations need to maintain productivity without added costs. Would you say that you work in a toxic work environment or you're under a toxic work culture? These are just the more unfortunate cases where promotions can be withheld from specific individuals as a way of asserting dominance and reminding everyone of their place within the organization. And the plan here, for the most part, is to use career advancement as a bargaining chip to get you to work harder, to please your boss so you can get promoted, or even make you accept difficult working conditions without asking questions. There's a toll on your mental strength that comes with being passed over for a promotion. Those moments when you start doubting your capabilities, you're second guessing yourself. And in fact, you're second guessing your every move within the organization. Your anxiety levels start picking up and they're literally going over the roof. And then you find that you're not as motivated as you used to be before. Who's looking anyway? Are they even aware of the sacrifices that you've had to make to be a top performer in that organization? So what does this do to your confidence levels? What does this do to your self-esteem? What are you supposed to do in circumstances like this? Assuming that you've been documenting all your achievements, both big and small, within and outside of your organization, and you're aware of your value. You have requested and had one-on-one meetings with management a few times now to seek clarity on your blind spots. You've dug a little deeper. You've asked direct questions and the expectations from you, and nothing fruitful has come out of these meetings. You've been seeking mentorship and coaching outside of your immediate work environment, literally growing at a personal level. Now you have sufficient feedback from your peers and other members within the organization who can attest to your positive evolution. You have what it takes to be promoted. You are ready. This might just be the time to have that difficult conversation with yourself. Will working in this organization be beneficial to you in the long run or not? If you are offered opportunities elsewhere, would you be willing to take them? Would your future self be grateful to your present self if you did nothing about your current situation? At what point do you align with your conscience that it's okay to seek opportunities elsewhere? You want to adopt proactive strategies to either address your current predicament or step outside for opportunities that are going to value your skill set and ambition. For some people, that one-on-one meeting with your boss is enough to settle the matter and just change your situation. But what happens when this is not the case for you? There are obvious pointers, obvious signs that show that it is time to look elsewhere. How you react to these pointers is going to be the deciding factor to the next level of your career. Does the organization that you work for value genuine career progression? And this is a question of transparency. Do you get straightforward, unbiased answers from your bosses on how to advance professionally? For as long as you feel left in the dark about this, preparation is going to be compromised, leaving you in that guessing zone with no time span on how to plan ahead. And in this case, it's ideal to consider your other options. Is your sense of ambition met with discouragement, compliments, and feedback that is meant to keep you in your place instead of giving you, wings to fly? The subtle criticism, suggestions that you're not ready, but no one is willing to help you get ready for the position that you want. It's possible that your growth is viewed as a threat, which can lead to you stagnating in the same role year in, year out, that case of zero grazing. So you're safer widening your spectrum now, or maybe you're just consistently overlooked despite your qualifications. You have this track record of serving as an A-plus performer. You always meet and exceed expectations. You've been promised promotions one too many times with no one following through, and there's no legitimate reason why you've not been promoted up until now. If it's a case of favoritism, change may not come as soon as you may want, as soon as you wish. You might as well just think of your exit strategy. Are there toxic traits within the organization threatening your mental and emotional wellness? For example, just the mind games that we were talking about, blackmail, guilt tripping, clear open threats. And if this is coupled with little to no growth opportunities for you and your colleagues, no in-house trainings, no incentives to motivate you to be more for yourself and also for the organization, there's a possibility that it might not change soon. So you have to be the one to change. You have to be the one to move. And the plan here is to find a work environment where you can genuinely thrive. Then proactively start putting systems in place where this can happen swiftly. Here is where networking within or outside of your department, outside of your organization comes in handy. Are there like-minded groups, like-minded people that you can join, even online, to orient you in a favorable direction? And then you do a personal SWOT analysis. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Opportunities? Where will you be most successful, especially from these networking groups, and the threats that you may face along the way? Then cast your your net far and wide before handing in your resignation letter. This is a case of proper planning. If you received value from this video and you're probably still unsure if it's time for you to move on to the next level, I made a video on 7 signs that it's time to pivot. You are in management, you are in leadership, you're in a leadership role, you are considering quitting that well-paying job. It's no longer about the money. You feel tired, you feel numb, you feel like you've reached your breaking point. This video is for you. Did you know that 60% of leaders report feeling emotionally drained at the end of their workday? Being in leadership is synonymous with more responsibility, and this can often lead to burnout. And if left unchecked, it can have severe consequences on your mental health. So we are going to look at how burnout can impact your mental health in leadership, the signs that you absolutely want to look out for, and what you can do to bulletproof your mind and body and find that working balance for your well-being. If you're in middle to upper management, burnout can show up as that feeling of physical and emotional exhaustion that you experience when you're overworked or you've probably neglected your well-being. And let me just be quick to mention that burnout in leadership roles differs from burnout in people from other positions within the organization, because the higher you go, the higher the levels of responsibility and accountability. There's this word that sounds almost cliche, you know, to whom much is given, much is required, but it is so true. You are not only responsible for your own work, but you also have the performance, the well-being, the outcomes of your team members, and even the overall organization. Those in lower hierarchies have to focus more on their duties with less overall accountability for company success, and this creates additional pressure on you, which can lead to greater risk of emotional exhaustion. Then as a leader, you may also experience decision fatigue from the constant need to analyze, to evaluate, to choose among competing priorities, which is a mental drain unique to those in leadership roles. Your colleagues in lower ranks are charged to follow direction without having to bear the weight of critical decision making, which reduces mental strain on their part. And then there is the aspect of emotional labor, role isolation, and I've spoken about this a lot in most of my videos. Leaders are expected to not only manage their own emotions, you also have to manage the emotions of your team members. You have to provide support, you have to manage conflicts, you have to create that happy place for everyone, and this is emotional labor, and it can actually take a significant toll on your mental health, in addition to the loneliness from being isolated from others. And then you find that you cannot share your stress and struggles with your colleagues, something that employees within the organization in non-leadership positions don't necessarily go through much, as they may experience emotional challenges. They don't have to shoulder the burden of other people's emotions or isolation from other team members. I've always believed that the first line of defense is prevention. You want to know the signs to look out for, to know that burnout is imminent, or if you're already in too deep. So this is an aspect that I delve into deeply with my clients, only because you are as useful to an organization as your productivity. It starts with your physical, then there's your mental, then there's your emotional. All this come together. You want to take preventative measures before becoming too overwhelmed to act, before becoming too overwhelmed to step up and to protect yourself. And a big challenge for leaders is that struggle to show vulnerability. So in the process of being the solution to everybody else within the organization except yourself, your body's natural defense can give way, and if it's overstretched, you want to check out if you struggle with chronic fatigue and exhaustion. Have you been feeling physically exhausted and emotionally depleted lately from the demands of your role? You find yourself ruminating about the past. You find yourself worried and anxious about the future. You find yourself concerned about your feelings and the demands of your job, and it's now coming down to the constant headaches and the chronic body pains, the gastrointestinal troubles. You feel like you cannot just catch a break. And even with some good needed rest, you still feel tired when you wake up, and before you know it, you're just going to work to fulfill your professional requirements, and not because you love and appreciate your job. All the motivation has been replaced by irritability, and that's where inability to focus comes in. If you're experiencing burnout, you may struggle to perform at your usual level, at your usual best. Burnout can make you change your behavior at work, and then you notice tasks and responsibilities piling up on your desk, but it's so hard to make decisions. You even prefer to be excluded from solving problems because it's just too much for you to take. You find yourself canceling events, you're canceling meetings, you don't want to show up on time, and you're not remorseful about it. And with time, the quality of your work suffers, and you start feeling ineffective. You're going to start feeling frustrated at work, even with your own job. And this leads to what? This leads to emotional withdrawal. Are you slowly becoming cynical? Are you questioning the value of your efforts in that organization, even in your own particular role? You're not as excited as you used to be about your work, and you literally appear detached from the daily happenings within the organization. You're no longer sensitive to the needs of your colleagues, and with time, people start saying that there's an air of negativity that is surrounding you. These are just a few red flags that indicate that you may be approaching burnout, and there's need to take drastic measures to regain balance. So the moment you start to experience that chronic fatigue, the inability to focus on your daily routines, and your emotions start giving you away, go under the microscope. Consider self-assessment. What is your body trying to communicate to you? Burnout can manifest in mental health challenges like anxiety, depression, mood swings, decision fatigue. Your mental well-being takes a hit from prolonged stress and emotional fatigue. So I'm just going to share with you some of the ways burnout manifests in your mental health, starting with debilitating anxiety. Have your anxiety levels started manifesting as persistent worry? You're becoming increasingly nervous. You're becoming more and more overwhelmed. And lately, you find it too hard to relax and even have a moment just to yourself, to just have a moment to be in your little happy place. The work you once enjoyed doing has now taken a toll on you. It's clouding your judgment such that you do not want to shoulder other people's responsibilities. These are the moments where depression and emotional numbness checks in, when you start feeling disconnected from your work and from your personal life, and then you feel that wave of sadness, and things of material value just take second place. If you are the kind of person who's in tune with your mind, you're in tune with your body, you're going to notice when you start losing interest in activities you once enjoyed, when you feel too emotionally drained, and you quietly struggle with feelings of worthlessness and even failure. Are you experiencing disrupted sleep patterns, insomnia? You find that you have difficulty falling asleep, or you're waking up frequently during the night and you can't just explain it. You may have been sacrificing sleep in the name of hard work, but this can cause a mental toll on you, causing that anxiety and irritability that compounds to restless sleep. Just having seen at how much burnout can manifest in your mental health, you want to master the correlation between prolonged stress and mental well-being. And leadership comes with daily pressure to deliver, and for the most part, to exceed expectations, and this can lead to prolonged stress. So with time, you will experience mental fatigue and emotional strain. The longer the stress goes unaddressed, the greater the decline in your mental health. You just want to look out for your memory attention span, decision-making abilities. Do you feel like they have been compromised lately? It could be high levels of the stress hormone cortisol at work, or your emotions are all over the place, making it harder for you to cope with challenges and with emotional exhaustion. So you don't even feel that need to make an effort anymore. So for the sake of this video, we're just going to go a little deeper here as we shed light on people in leadership and management roles. And you want to ask yourself, what are your unique stressors? Starting with the high responsibility element, being responsible for others amplifies stress in that you carry the weight of ensuring that everybody under your umbrella meets expectations, they achieve goals, and they stay motivated. And these are stress magnets. You're also expected to be the emotional anchor for your team members, even when you're feeling overwhelmed yourself. So the stress of constantly being emotionally available for others can come with that extra layer of emotional and mental fatigue. And then let's look at the burden of making decisions. Decision-making burden. Being responsible for making decisions that are going to affect the careers and well-being of others means that the consequences of your decisions are going to ripple throughout the organization. And there is stress that comes with the fear of making the wrong decisions and negatively impacting others, because whatever you decide is going to carry weight beyond your personal concerns. And the major downturn that burnout can lead to for you is that you may easily become disconnected from your colleagues and your team members, leading to that loss of empathy. And the danger is that the larger the trust gap widens between you and your people, the more of an uphill task is going to be for you to work together. You need at least one or two people who can put an oxygen mask on your nose in case of an emergency, if you get what I mean. With the disconnection comes communication breakdown, and with communication breakdown comes strained relationships. So I'm just going to share with you this acronym that I came up with. I love acronyms. So this acronym I came up with, SPOT, SPOT, to highlight actionable tips that will help you find balance before burnout becomes a thing. The S stands for step back. Take a step back. At the end of each day, you want to take at least 10 to 15 minutes to do a personal debrief of your day. Your body is your greatest indicator of whether you were kind to yourself or otherwise. And this is where you ask yourself, are there tasks that you could have delegated, and did you actually do it? How did you handle the short and the long breaks throughout the day? Did you feel good about how the day went, or are there areas that you can improve on consciously to have fruitful days in future? Making this a habit is going to help you catch on any discomfort that may lead to burnout and mitigate it in good time. And then the P stands for prioritize your resources according to your resourcefulness. So by now you probably have an idea of your genius zone at work. That thing that you're really good at. And this is what you want to prioritize and consecrate the most of your energy to. When you become everything to everyone, you can easily get distracted as you deplete your energy levels, all the while you're sacrificing your mental strength. But when you prioritize that which you were hired for, you're going to get better at it daily, lowering your stress levels as you grow in your expertise. You will also feel less guilty setting the right boundaries, because you know where your energy levels should be spent, and you are doing exactly that. And then the O stands for organize your inner self. Organize your inner self. Burnout manifests differently according to our personality types and the kind of work that we do. So you'll notice that if you're an extrovert, you're going to handle stress differently from an introvert. One may manifest more outwardly, while the other might take more time before the signs become obvious. It's just a case of personality types. And then if your work requires you to be more physical, your body is going to ring the alarm. and maybe give you 80% of the signals that you need to slow down. Take this from a former cabin crew. And then if you're left-brained, your mind is going to push back and give you the signals that you need to press pause and pay attention to your well-being. So you want to be very clear on your personality type, your physical, mental, and emotional triggers, so you know when there is looming danger ahead. And then the T stands for think forward, but act in the present. Think forward, act in the present. It's always important to look at the bigger picture to help you stay grounded and focused on the constants of your life, with or without your job. What does your future look like in that organization? How do you imagine your life after retirement? And if the stress levels keep rising, do you see yourself happily getting to retirement and even beyond? Who would be the most affected should anything happen to you whatsoever? Burnout is your body's outcry that something needs to change, but only if you take matters into your own hands and make yourself a priority. If you manage teams born between the years 1997 and 2012, this video is for you, because you've been operating from a culture that structures a clear chain of command with authority concentrated at the upper levels and a very specific code of conduct. Talk of the memos, the meetings, decisions have always been made by the senior leadership, then passed down through the ranks to the other employees. So to you, hierarchy has always been highly important. Then you find yourself lately, you're leading a team that prefers a more collaborative approach where everybody's voice has to be heard. They live for diversity, they live for inclusion, they live for equity. They prefer autonomy, and they believe that leadership should come from all levels and not necessarily top down. These are people who are big on face time and not necessarily face-to-face time. They have that preference for working remotely or in hybrid structures, and they are willing to demonstrate their resourcefulness. This challenges your professional belief system because they are quite emphatic on employers living and breathing their values beyond the mission statement. So leading them gives you anxiety, much as you do not want to admit it, you do not want to accept it. You know that your organization needs that innovative energy, and it's just a matter of time. It's a question of time before they occupy roles similar to yours, as you share the same working environment. So how do you reconcile your leadership style in this growing demand without losing your mind? We're going to discuss the importance of maintaining your mental strength in leadership, especially in this Gen Z era. Why fix what is not broken? You've probably been telling yourself this, considering that leading from a more authoritative standpoint has served you well up until now. Right now, you are literally being cautious in implementing disruptive technologies that may cause the obvious changes in workflow. You've been comfortable with the tried and the tested and the true methods. You have seen it, you have done it. You are the kind of person who has highly prioritized productivity, where long hours, strong work ethic just scream success to you, over sometimes even over your own personal well-being. And then here are the Gen Zs who strongly believe that work should support a fulfilling life and not necessarily consume it. They resonate with transparency, direct communication, where authenticity flows without having to think about the hierarchical demands. And this is a group of people who works best. They work best under a leader who is approachable, who is relatable over the authoritarians. As digital natives, the Gen Zs take easily to technology. You might have noticed these are tech-driven. They prefer tech-driven solutions, something that you may take a slower approach to adopt. They value innovation, which makes them, appreciate the digital tools like the messaging apps, things that just make for quick, informal exchanges and even quicker and more frequent feedback. This is a group that places that high emphasis on work-life balance, mental health. They focus more on output and not necessarily the hours, which means that you will not make them to stay a minute longer than they have to. Flexible hours speak to them, remote working options with employers who are supportive of wellness. This goes a long way in ensuring their productivity. And you know, we have this African proverb that says, you cannot stop a problem from coming, but you don't have to give it a chair to sit on. So before you start labeling this group, you know, the Gen Zs, as hard to work with, somewhat difficult, it is necessary to understand their struggles that could be causing this disconnect, you know, in the generational gap. How they reason and how you reason. You want to look at where the problem is, starting with, you know, overwhelm, burnout, mental health. This is something that has come up one too many times. And this is a group that has grown in a highly connected digital world with constant exposure to information, be it on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, X, Facebook. Then talk of the global events, the mass shootings, the pandemic that they have had to watch and experience with unfiltered access. They are under a lot of pressure to perform from the high expectations that they have placed on themselves. And this can come with anxiety and mental health concerns. So if you're a boss who does not prioritize this with flexible working conditions, they can easily feel overwhelmed, burnt out, and even struggle working with you. The Gen Zs tend to prioritize financial stability, you know, job security. So they can get frustrated when their career expectations are not met as quickly as they do hope. You know, remember, many of them joined the workforce during economic uncertainty like the COVID-19 pandemic, which caused many people to lose their jobs. So this can contribute to the feelings of financial insecurity. And then let's talk of navigating workplace authority, as we had earlier discussed. You'll notice that the Gen Zs have a higher affinity for flatter hierarchies, transparent leadership, and they may experience difficulty navigating, you know, the rigid authoritative environments, as it frustrates and even stifles their autonomy. And this is where you might find that there are conflicts between managers and people in leadership who struggle with more egalitarian approach. This also is a group that is purpose-driven. You know, they believe in standing for something or dying fighting. They value purpose-driven work. As such, they will be drawn to organizations that just align with their personal values. Aspects like environmental sustainability, social justice, diversity. They may struggle if they feel like they are not making an impact on their roles, or the company ethics do not necessarily align with theirs. So if you look at the traditional leadership styles, and I'm putting this in quotes, which has been probably your cup of tea, you're going to notice that it equally has negative impact on your mental health, on your mental strength. You know, just a few examples: isolation from other employees. And I talk about this a lot in my videos because it is a reality that can cost you your mental stability. The higher you go, the cooler it becomes. And this is, you know, as the gap between you and your team members widens, and then you find that there are few to no peers that you can share your challenges with. There's that loneliness that comes with working in closed offices, away from the general workforce, you know, with zero opportunity for informal communication. And then let's talk about the bureaucratic red tape, where you've been operating from that rigid, well-established routines, you know, and implementing even the smallest of changes was, or it probably still is, an uphill task for you. Any proposal that you make comes with that lengthy approval process. You know, it has to go from point A to point B to point C from upper management, and a favorable response is not always guaranteed. So it can probably be delayed or even rejected altogether, and this can be frustrating when you're trying to improve the workplace culture. Then, as a leader, when were you last applauded for showing vulnerability at work? If your role has been synonymous with authority and control, you may hesitate to seek mental health support for fear of coming off weak. You know, people might think you're weak, or even losing respect from your peers. And this can lead to the bottled up stress and unavoidable mental health struggles. And then we also want to look at the high pressure and responsibility that comes with being in top management. You cannot go around this. You have to shoulder the responsibility of making decisions that affect the entire organization. And this comes with heightened levels of stress and anxiety. The plan now is to find that sweet balance between managing the Gen Z team and taking care of your mental health, you want to find that sweet spot. Your mind is your powerhouse, and the more tender, loving care you give it, the safer you'll be in the workplace and beyond. So we're going to start with, at number 1, get comfortable delegating. Delegation. The Gen Z craves autonomy. They crave autonomy. They need opportunities to contribute to company growth. That space to innovate, to solve problems. So if you're big on strategic leadership, you'll be able to empower your team, which is not only going to help them grow, but it is going to reduce your workload. It's going to help you work smart. It's going to help you focus on your main area of expertise. You just want to be available in case they need guidance without unnecessary oversight, to reduce stress, on both ends. When the expectations are clear, you know who to hold accountable, without that playing that dominance card. And then at number 2, you want to prioritize your support system. And this is something I discuss a lot in almost all my videos, only because leadership comes with challenges. And this is in addition to the loneliness at the top. Your inner circle plays a big role in giving you, wings when it feels like you're getting consumed by the fire from the Gen Z demands. Remember, you're managing teams with differing generational expectations, and this can be draining mentally. You need that safe umbrella where you can share your concerns, your fears, and even gain new perspective. Someone once mentioned to me that it is important to have friends from the different age groups, both younger and older than yourself. And if you have this in your inner circle, even better, because they're going to help shed light on your blind spots, so you have an idea of how to approach the younger generation if you belong to probably Gen X, and have a win-win outcome. And then you want to think self-preservation. There is good stress and there is bad stress. One takes away from you while the other adds into you. So if it doesn't challenge you into growth, it is bad stress. You might have come from, you probably come from a culture where you consider mental health a private matter, taboo discussion, especially if you're in leadership. But in an era where the Gen Z prioritize mental health, you are well placed to put your physical, emotional, mental well-being on the forefront. You are leading diverse, dynamic teams, which can be mentally demanding. So you also want to keep your hobbies close. Also consider programs that can help you identify and address the mental health struggles. This is something that I do with my own clients, to normalize these conversations in leadership. And then try taking meditation breaks if you have to, and just determine what work-life balance means to you intrinsically, personally. And this brings us to the next point. You want to be clear on your boundaries. You work with a group of people who are tech savvy. They value constant communication, especially via the digital apps, which has a way of keeping you on toes, causing you that stress and anxiety to just, keep up. And they equally value direct, informal communication. So you want to leverage this by being transparent about the need for boundaries, and at the same time encourage them to set their own boundaries. Just for example, if regular meetings would require them to work during odd hours, be open about expectations of when they should be online and why they should be online at that time. You want to be very, very clear on working hours and the communications expectations. If you have to use automatic replies during non-working hours, why not? The plan is to prevent work from bleeding into your private life. And in this era of working remotely, no one wants to feel like work and tasks are delegated throughout the day, such that you cannot even plan ahead. At number 5, practice empathy both ways. Consider the fact that, the need of the Jay-Zs to work for specific hours and not more is not about the job. It has a lot more to do with work-life balance. Are you happy with the results, with the results so far? Would working more hours bring in more, or would it compromise productivity? And as you take the measures to be understanding of their demands, take a moment, be kind to yourself. Pat yourself on the shoulder when you feel like you have exceeded your own expectations and you even succeeded at having a happy group of team members. The small wins that we often overlook are the ones that hide true joy if nurtured. At number 6, your mindset. Consider your mindset and shift it, especially when it comes to defining ambition. If you're working with value-driven people, they will ask for a promotion at some point. And this is merit-based and not necessarily experience-based, like, the number of years that they have been in the organization. Leadership is about creating more leaders. So if their sense of ambition goes with their work output, look at them from an asset standpoint and not as a threat to your role. Try laying out the clear path to promotion and what success looks like within the organization, then guide them as they move up. I don't pretend to be a therapist, but these videos are about journeys that I have been through, how I found my way out, and I am currently working with people to do the same, with my own clients to do the same. So if you have debilitating anxiety that's been eating into your leadership journey, you've seen that most of these things start at a very personal level. I work with my clients from the inside out with a tried, tested and proven method that is going to give you that holistic approach to workplace leadership and put most, if not all, of these concerns to rest. So I invite you to book a spot in the calendar link in the description box below. It's a 30-minute call, totally free, and we'll both determine if my services match your needs. Have you ever asked if climbing up the corporate ladder is actually worth it? Yes, your salary will increase. Accomplishments will be added to your portfolio. You'll gain new skills as you take on more responsibilities, have more influence, greater autonomy, more job security due to more experience and expertise, even more allowances. Well, to whom much is given, much is required. You'll be expected to have more answers and solutions than questions. You'll have to shoulder the burdens of your team members as your personal struggles take a backseat. These pressures from work do not exempt you from other responsibilities and dynamics demanded of you by family and friends. You're still going to be that mother, that partner, that sister, that daughter, that friend, who experiences the highs and lows of life, loss and gain, love and emotional responsibilities. And normal as it seems that you look out for others, who is looking out for you? We're going to discuss how to stay mentally fit in a leadership role beyond your office wall. New job opportunities that come with a pay rise will more often than not come with the need to separate yourself from your old habits as you acquire new ones. There's that brief season of transition where you may face potential challenges such as increased stress, change in professional relationships, longer working hours, more responsibility, name it. That feeling like the peace and calm that you once enjoyed, that you once experienced, is quickly replaced with nervousness and untold anxiety. And there's an element of self-doubt that will bring that anxiety over whether you're going to perform as well as you did in your previous role. That feeling that your skills are not necessarily enough to take on more challenges and tasks. Not everybody can handle separation anxiety with grace. Balancing these aspects with your personal goals is extremely important for your mental and your emotional safety. You're getting recognition from peers, superiors, sometimes even industry professionals, but are you able to deliver? Research has shown that 49% of executives and people in management positions report struggling with mental health issues at some point in their career. And this number is literally rising by the minute. And the common stressors, if you look into it, are decision-making pressures. You have the responsibility of making decisions that are going to affect other people. And sometimes you're really not certain of the outcomes. Then there's isolation from others. You may feel lonely due to the nature of your role. That lack of peers with whom you can confide, share your experiences, overwhelm your struggles. You want to be sensitive enough to know how this is impacting your mental well-being. Do you have perfectionist tendencies where you've set unrealistically high standards for yourself and even for your team, but it is causing you sleepless nights? Fear of failure can manifest through doubting of your abilities in that new role, feeling afraid that others are going to see through you, pick out your incompetencies, and even make you look like a fraud. And this comes with its own element of anxiety and stress. So hopefully by the end of this video, you'll be able to identify the triggers to your mental and emotional wellness and comfortably put yourself first. If you're already in leadership, you might be facing challenges that take a toll on your mental strength. I'll just give you a few examples. The constant pressure to meet high performance standards and achieve the high targets that are set by the organization. That fear of not meeting expectations can result in burnout. Then you have the team dynamics. You have your own team dynamics to handle the interpersonal conflicts, managing the differing, diverse personalities that you're working with. This can drain you emotionally, and you do not want to get to a point of helplessness where your team members start questioning your problem-solving abilities before coming to you for help. Then you want to think of, trying to lead through organizational changes like restructuring, downsizing, implementing new technologies. People's emotions are involved here, and this can leave you feeling sort of unstable and uncertain and pushing your stress levels way over the roof. Or maybe you're the kind of person that is big on continuous learning and updating your skills. That's something that I'm very passionate about. And you need to keep pace with the industry changes. The need to stay relevant and competent can be demanding, and this can also lead to high anxiety. So your mental health as a leader is extremely important, not only for your well-being, but also for the emotional and mental health of your team members. Your attitude, your behaviors, all this are mirrored by your team members. So when you prioritize yourself, you are quietly, subtly encouraging others to prioritize themselves. And just consider the opposite. If you neglect or overlook your mental health, you will be subconsciously contributing to a toxic and unhealthy work environment where fear, stress, overwhelm, exhaustion, low morale take the center stage. And you'll notice that your mental well-being is deeply woven into your own professional effectiveness. There are specific signs that you want to look out for, and that these stressors are taking root, and change is absolutely necessary. Are you becoming excessively worried about your workload, your team members' contributions and output, your organization's expectations of you, that feeling that you have to shoulder all these burdens alone because other people may not necessarily understand? Have you noticed a change in your mood swings where you are particularly irritable and you feel very, very low, even to make decisions that you used to make before easily and effortlessly? Now you're resorting to cynicism, moving away from responsibilities. Have you let your work spill into your personal time, ignoring all the alarms that are going off around you, the insomnia, the withdrawal syndromes, all this from loved ones, from people that you really care about, before resorting to any unhealthy coping mechanisms? Because it's possible. It is important to note that you are not alone. It is the Paris Olympics season as I shoot this video, and a good number of the world champion title holders, leaders in their specific crafts, have mentioned their mental health struggles and processes that they have been through, from their lowest of lows journeying through to their highest of highs. And destigmatizing mental health played a big role in their comeback stories. Misconceptions that could have been equated to weaknesses on their part were the actual pedestals that renewed their strengths. And then, historically speaking, just think of Martin Luther King Jr., who suffered depressive episodes well into his adulthood with 2 suicide attempts as a teenager. Sir Abraham Lincoln, who struggled with depression all through his life. Winston Churchill, who struggled with bipolar disorder while in leadership. And then, moving closer to home, you know that you are as important to any organization as your productivity, which highly depends on your mental health, strength, and wealth. As a cabin crew, I was taught that your safety comes first. Your safety comes above all else. You cannot help others from a place of need. You cannot give what you do not have. So I have this acronym, FORTE, in reverse order, which is going to help you mitigate the stress and lead a mentally fulfilling life throughout your career, starting with letter S, self-care. So part of self-care is knowing yourself inside out. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What personality type are you? What personality traits do you possess? How well do you gel with other people? What personality traits and types do you struggle to work with and to be around? And then considering that you cannot avoid working with everybody who does not gel with you, what internal work would you have to commit to ensure a conducive work environment for everybody? At what point do you draw the line that should not be crossed emotionally? How do you go about it? The more aware you are of your trigger factors, the more manageable it's going to be to regulate your emotions and keep your head above the water. And then the E stands for your immediate environment. Consider this your support network. You want to know who forms your immediate environment physically, psychologically, emotionally, and even spiritually. And that this is particularly important in seasons where you experience professional lows, emotional exhaustion, workplace drama, anything that drains you mentally. You need to have a safe space away from the glare of everybody to recollect yourself and bounce back on your feet. So your immediate environment provides that protective shield against the deep overwhelm, and they also give you the room to regenerate yourself, straighten your spinal cord, and even take on more responsibilities without feeling like you're being weighed down. They will willfully help you overcome feelings of isolation and loneliness. These are the people who are going to encourage you to take the necessary breaks and vacation when they see that you need it but you don't see it. And should you need therapy but still feel afraid of being stigmatized, here is your environment of safe anonymity, where these people are more interested in seeing you well-rounded, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to help you get there. Then the T stands for your team's needs or your team members' needs. So once equipped with emotional stamina from your immediate environment, you can safely address the needs of your team. You want to know who constitutes and contributes to your team members. What personality traits do they possess, and how can you help them bring out the best in themselves? The quality of work your team delivers is directly proportional to the kind of leadership that you deliver it. And this is going to determine how happy your clients are going to be and even influence the eventual return on investment. Just tell yourself, if your team members are happy, your customers are going to be happier. And this is where you want to foster a culture of openness that values mental health and provides resources for stress management. There is so much power in open dialogue and showing empathy among colleagues. You just want the conversation to start with you. Then the R stands for rate by importance. And this is where you look at your daily activities. What must you absolutely do on a daily basis? What are the things that you do not have to do, but they don't hold as much importance, but you do them anyway? How much of your energy do you consecrate to them? You want to list all this by their order of importance so that you attend to the most important early and fast when your energy levels are high. And as you progress through the day, you want to be in tune with your body so you can know when to press pause, reset, stop, and pick up the next day. Procrastination is postponing what you ought to do without assigning it a specific time, date, or day. Being organized, on the other hand, ensures that everything you do is planned for. And then the O stands for omitting the excesses. Remove the excess. Once you're clear on your daily routine, it is important to eliminate whatever doesn't serve yours or the good of those around you, but it takes your time and energy. And this boils down to quality over quantity. And there are meetups that leave you drained and you could comfortably do without. How about programs that eat into your schedule but cannot be accounted for? Do you feel like you have to be everything to everybody else except yourself? So omitting the excesses is a case of radical accountability, where you stick to only what you need, who and what adds value to your well-being. And the more you commit to decluttering your mind, the more freedom you're going to experience, the more freedom you'll have to be yourself and experience also that mental space and mental freedom. And you'll breathe mentally, if that makes sense, you know. And then the F stands for focus on the basics. So having omitted the excess, you've adopted rating your daily duties by level of importance. You can bring your team members in because you have a full grasp of your immediate environment and you're comfortable putting yourself first. So from here, it's a case of rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Whatever is working, keep doing it. How do you feel at the end of each day, having implemented what I have discussed above? And if you're happy with the changes that are coming in, then this is where you want to keep your focus and make it you. If you got value from this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you know anyone who'd benefit from it, just feel free to share with them. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye.